This is the Shark's Diet Research Paper Podcast. This podcast will be covering the different effects of different diets on Nahoa's health. So Nahoa is a black-tooth reef shark who is 15 years old. He was originally at the Hilton Hotel in Waikoloa. He was given to us by the Hilton Hotel, and Nahoa has been fed the same diet for his entire life. This consists of being fed frozen squid, frozen mackerel, frozen shrimp, and occasionally a live tilapia that I've caught out here at Dog Beach. So Nahoa is fed on Monday, Wednesdays, Friday. He's fed 1 pound of squid, he's fed 2 shrimps, and he's fed 1 to 2 mackerel fillets depending on how hungry he is. Most medium-sized gray reef sharks in Hawaii eat about 78% of bony fish and 22% of crustaceans. So by looking at that, the gray reef shark's diet is more orientated on being fed bony fish rather than eating other things. So some of the first things I really like to change that he's being fed right now is the frozen mackerel. I would like to find a fish that is higher in nutrients, like proteins, fats, oils to feed to him that actually live out here on the reefs in the Big Island. So some of the easy fish that I've been looking at are mainly Hinulea. So if any of you guys have ever gone fishing before and use Hinuleas as slide bait, a lot of times you'll get like roy, lots of invasive fish, and sharks are another big thing. Smaller sharks will come and eat with them. So as for the frozen shrimp, that is basically pointless to be feeding him right now. So the experiment happened a long time ago. 61 gray reef sharks' stomachs were cut open, and between all 61 gray reef sharks, they only had an average of 1.6 shrimp in their stomach. So little to nothing. So seeing that those 61 gray reef sharks only had an average of 1.6 shrimps in their stomach, I don't see the point of feeding Nahoa any kinds of shrimp, as he's also a medium-sized shark, and those sharks that are around that medium size, just like Nahoa, had 29% to 32% of lobster in their diet. So that is something that is much more likely to be found out here, and something that's more likely for being able to replace the shrimp. Lobster was sadly not being able to be chosen due to cost restraints, but it was definitely something good to see. Right now there's no fresh caught squid sold in this area. It also costs a lot of money to buy them too. However, the nutritional value of fresh squid is way better than any frozen squid that we buy in bulk. Fresh caught octopus, although, is a very common thing to see out here. Lots of fishermen sell it, and as well as for the 61 gray reef shark stomachs that were cut open, there was 18 octopus were found between all of those sharks. So considering 61 gray reef sharks, and some of those sharks did not have any food in their stomachs at all, some of them didn't have any octopus, some of them did, it's actually a pretty good percentage of the number of octopuses that were found. So if we do replace the squid with octopus, we would just figure out how much squid Nahoa eats on an average and replace that much with the amount of octopus we would feed him. So right now, the best thing we can be feeding Nahoa is locally caught fish. So fish is part of the main thing in shark's diet. That's the biggest part of their diet, as it was the biggest thing in those 61 gray reef sharks that were cut open. I believe it was 78% of bony fish. So some of the most common bony fish that were found in tiger sharks of all 3 size classes, which is small, medium, and large, were pufferfish and porcupine fish. Although the porcupine fish and pufferfish will not be fed to Nahoa at all due to he is a much smaller shark than the tiger sharks, and his mouth is way too small to be doing that unless we go out and catch really, really tiny ones. But the risk of him possibly getting hurt or Tiny getting hurt or any other fish in there won't be worth it. So our second and third option right now is basically just looking at different types of cephalopods, crustaceans. So that's just like our octopus, squid, lobsters, shrimp, the deep sea shrimp as well. I forget the name of those, but those are pretty costly as well, but they are easier to find out here. During some past experiments with other researchers, they set out long lines that consisted of 3 800-meter sections of line that had 24 hooks per section. These were set out to catch sharks for their experiment. During this time, hundreds of sharks were caught and killed to see their stomach contents, and many of these sharks were tiger sharks, sandbar sharks, great reef sharks, and Galapagos sharks. And then all of these sharks were caught in the southeast Hawaiian Island chain. So this is where most of my data is coming from. Between finding those 61 great reef sharks, a lot of them were caught there, the tiger shark data, and most of the medium shark data was coming from there as well. So some of the records for the longest fasting shark ever was the swell shark. The shark did not eat for 15 months. So this can kind of get implemented into sometimes how Nohoa doesn't eat for like a week. I may get kind of worried. But he usually doesn't go longer than a week without eating. Because if Nohoa has gone usually more than a week without eating, we usually know something's wrong with him. Not in the sense that something actually is wrong with him, but more of a sense of what has changed in the shark tank by chance, or is something starting to develop inside of him that we cannot see. So this is kind of what happened to his brother Kai. He died of liver cancer. We got to dissect him open and see how he died. It was due to liver cancer, and before this happened, Kai wasn't eating as much, he wasn't eating as frequently, and he was going long periods of time of this fasting stage. So if we see some of these same things in Nohoa, this is something we'll have to take account for, and how possible diet change could be better or worse for this situation. So if we do start a new diet, this can help doing some data collection by figuring out if Nohoa prefers this diet over the one he's being fed right now. It's basically just going over time differences between is he faster with this diet than this diet, find the averages between like a live feed, the control feed, which is the feed we're feeding now, and the new feed. So as for some data averages and some graphs and stuff that I have calculated out here. So between the dates of 10/23/23 to 4/19/24, the range from 45 seconds to 1 hour. So I have a graph explaining how many seconds it takes for Nohoa to take his first bite when doing some feeds. So we have dates all the way from 10/23/23 to 4/19/24. The seconds range from 45 seconds to 1,140 seconds. I believe that is 30 minutes. So Nohoa took 45 seconds one time to take his first bite out of a feed. This is the fastest we've ever had him take a first bite out of something. And then I believe the 30-minute feed was the day it was right at the end of the day, he took a bite finally. We usually don't feed past 30 minutes. That's his time gap. He gets 30 minutes to eat. And if he doesn't eat during those 30 minutes, he doesn't get fed that day. And then usually the next day, he'll be extra hungry and most definitely will eat. But if he doesn't eat for any of those days, that's when we kind of have to watch out and see if there's something that could possibly be wrong. So over the course of 6 months and 2 days, there has been 23 non-live feeds and only 7 live feeds during this time frame. When it came time to analyze our data, there was obviously an error by not having the same amount of live feeds and non-live feeds, but we didn't realize this until there wasn't enough time to fix it, and this was a huge error, and it sadly was not able to be fixed and addressed to have the same amount of feeds to conduct our t-test. So this t-test was supposed to be conducted. It was sadly not be able to be done between the different data that we have with our live feed and non-live feed. So we have some of the averages here instead for the time it took Nohoa to take his first bite in seconds. So for the live feed, it was 310.971 seconds. And for the non-live feed, it was 368.869 seconds. So by seeing these averages, we can see that Nohoa is faster to take a first bite out of his live prey rather than any of the frozen food. So seeing this, it does promote Nohoa to have more of an interaction with his live food, and he prefers to actually hunt this down. And I believe that it is able to keep him healthier, you could say. I mean, this is something alive. It hasn't been sitting in a cooler for who knows how long. He's actually having to move around. He goes way faster than he ever normally does when chasing live food. And he usually is never moving around in his tank besides just a slow, calm swim. So by seeing that Nohoa prefers his live feeds over the frozen feeds, I can correlate this into my hypothesis a little bit. It's a seen relation that Nohoa likes the live feeds more than the non-live feeds. We can see how this correlates into my hypothesis of the paper. So, for my hypothesis, when Nohoa's diet is changed, it will be beneficial to him. My null hypothesis is that when Nohoa's diet is changed, it won't have any effect to his feeding habits or his health. And my alternative hypothesis is that when Nohoa's diet is changed, it won't be good for him or his feeding habits. And that covers that. So, since I didn't have a way to calculate shark health data, the t-test wasn't really a good choice for that, but I had to be able to have something down. So that's why I went with how long it takes me to eat some food. But the t-test still didn't work out in the end due to not having the same amount of feeds. But this can be good data for next year, looking at it once I find a better way to take shark health data and how this can affect him, and then I'll actually be able to calculate it. So in conclusion, there is a possibility that when Nohoa's diet is changed, it could impact his health for the better, but kind of unsure right now as I don't have any solid data for his health over time right now with the food he's eating. But it's good to know that the averages for the first bite taken out of the live feeds is faster than the non-live feeds. So this could be something that he's like just more interested in eating something alive, or he knows it has more protein, or maybe he just likes the chase. I'm not sure yet. This is something I'm going to figure out. So knowing this, it could be better for him. It could not. So right now, as this time, I would say my hypothesis is neither correct nor incorrect as of this time.